Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Anime Brain Freeze. We are your gunslinging hosts.
I am John.
And I'm CC, and when there's just too much cool anime to watch, we've got you covered. Today we will visit a slightly familiar desert planet and get reacquainted with our old friends Vash, Meryl, and Wolfwood in Studio Orange's new hit show, Trigun Stampede. But before that, we will drop some hot impressions for a couple of fresh premieres from the spring season in the sneak peek, and John has some things to say, so we're gonna have an impromptu news segment. So holster your 6-shooters, keep your faces off them wanted posters, and definitely don't pause the pod. We'll be right back.
I get the picture. They try to hit you. They try to keep you down and out.
Now's the part where I get to be a little mean about a certain streaming service who we've talked up for a long while now. On March 30th, it was announced that the global version of Princess Connect was going to be ending service. That on its own is, you're probably saying, whatever, who cares? Mobile games end service all the time. Not a big name game with a license that's only not even 2.5 years in. Oh, and here's the thing about, for those of you who are unaware with mobile games, end of service usually has a longer tail than 1 month. There's usually a roadmap that's provided to be like, okay, so in the next month we're going to maybe start rerunning events, stuff that is currently available. The month after that, we're going to turn off purchases. And then the month after that is when the game will end service. Princess Connect is continuing to get new content. You cannot make in-game purchases. And it is planned. You can also no longer download it on Google Play or on the iTunes App Store. And it is slated to end service on April 30th. Why do I bring all of this up? Because Crunchyroll has now exhibited a pattern of licensing games and then in relative terms, rapidly shuttering them. Crunchyroll has also got caught with their pants down, altering the pull rates in Street Fighter Duel. Kind of a bad look, an exceptionally bad look.
That's true.
A lot of people have speculated that Cygames pulled the license for Princess Connect because they caught wind of Crunchyroll altering Street Fighter Duel's rates. All of this to say that I am not exactly happy with the way this has been handled. And I might be taking it to its extreme, but because of all this, I have canceled my Crunchyroll subscription. I want to say I do not support piracy, but there are ways to watch the shows that they supply. There is, anime fans will find a way, is what I'm trying to say.
They always have.
Yes. But I want to put out there that this is one of the things that they've done that has put a really bad look on them. All of on their page on their website that lists all of the games that they have licensed, they had a section for games that have been vaulted, which is their very flowery way of saying, oh, we've ended service on this game. It was kind of embarrassing to see because the amount of vaulted games outnumbered the number of games that are still running. And they have since, in an effort to save face, removed the listings for the games that have been vaulted.
Sneaky.
Yeah, very sneaky, very sort of not great. So I have canceled my Crunchyroll subscription. I have canceled any outstanding orders I had on their store. I do not want to do business with them anymore. I don't know how many of our listeners actually care about this, but I want to make what I have to say heard. I would say, number one, don't play any more games that are licensed by Crunchyroll, because this is something that they will continue to do. Every game to them just seems like it's a pump and dump. And I don't know if that's on them. I don't know if that's on Sony. But they continue to do this, and they will continue to do this. That much is apparent. If you have any interest in trying to save Princess Connect Global, which the hope is fading real fast, but there's a change.org petition going around, which, those don't really do much classically speaking. But put your name on there, say a little something. Contact Cygames. They have a form for feedback on their website. You can try contacting them on social media as well. Be civil about it, though. First and foremost, be civil about it. Mm-hmm. That's what I've been trying to do when I've been speaking to them, because I made some really cool friends playing Princess Connect over the past almost 2.5 years. And, we're going to stay in contact with each other. We have our own Discord server and we talk pretty regularly. I want to continue playing the game with them because we got into the second part of the story. We haven't even seen all the stuff that's, still coming. There's still like 3.5, 4 years of content that we're being denied. And it's not a money thing. Because the Thai, Korean, Chinese, and Taiwanese servers are still going. They're on their 2.5, 4, 3, and 4.5 year anniversary, respectively. Like the Thai and Korean servers bring in way, way less money than the global server, or no, the Thai server did. Okay, the Koreans brought in a little bit more, but the Thai server brings in way less money, and it's still running. The game consistently was ranking B, high B, low A ranks, and then shifting in and out of the top 20 on Sensor Tower. So do not get it twisted. It's not a money issue. I just, I think that this is probably one of the most egregiously stupid stunts that they've pulled. And, some other friends who I've talked to have been like, yeah, we're all kind of done with Crunchy. We have been done with Crunchyroll as well. So, this pattern of bad behavior on their part leads me to not want to financially reward them any further.
And I mean, that's the most effective thing you can do, speak with your wallet.
Yes,
because
absolutely. Money talks.
Exactly. And I mean, you can always try to argue with them, and be polite, like you said, on social media or wherever, or contact them through official means, on their own site. But they will take notice when the subscriber rates drop, when people don't buy anything from their store. Money always is the most effective lever here.
On the page where you can cancel your subscription, they say, oh, why are you canceling? And I wrote out and I kept it very cordial, and I said, this is the reason why I'm unsubscribing. I don't like the way you handled this situation, and I will not return in the the approach. Like I said, piracy is not the best option, but I am keeping my subscription to High Dive because I support what Sentai Filmworks does over there. So give money to the causes and the companies that you believe in, friends. That's the takeaway from this.
You won't find a company probably in this world that doesn't do something shitty in some way or another. Yeah. I don't want to throw accusation at High Dive or something like that, but they also have a parent company, and you won't find that. But what matters is there something that this company did that didn't work for you, or that made you unhappy, or where you're like, hey, that's scummy behavior, and I'm not okay with this. And what do you do then? You can tell them through different means. First, you can contact them directly, but also you can say, hey, if this is the way you do business, I'm not going to be part of your business anymore, and that's it.
I will say, don't harass customer service. No. Don't harass the social media reps.
Customer service are not the responsible people here. Right. They never are. Right. Never. Customer service are only the poor suckers who have to deal with people who need to vent.
Right.
Right?
When I went onto the Crunchyroll store to cancel a couple of open orders I had, customer service was very prompt and very helpful, and I thank them for that. So it's just, it's definitely the brass above that I have the issue with. Corporations are not people. That much is true. I think we can all agree on that. But, the people who you can probably get in contact with the most easily, I think, are the most understanding.
Some of them are probably in the same position.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Rest in peace, Princess Connect Global. I also want to say it's super awful of them that they made this announcement the day before April Fool's Day, and
Wow.
which was also like the day before Pekarine's birthday. Happy birthday, Pekko! We're killing your game on your birthday. Have a good one, yay!
Which is kind of shitty considering, you know, their Twitter account being always like, hey, today is La La La's birthday, and they pick some anime character and then try to make a buzz thing out of it, and then it's like, oh, but apparently not for this fictional person.
It's Peckover. That is one of many memes going. That is one of many of the coping memes that has gone around. But yeah, I mean, obviously mobile games will come and go. This is probably one of the ones that I enjoyed the most, though, and I would like to see it continue. The Japanese client still exists. If you have the DMM player installed on your PC, there is a fan translation patch you can run. I think the last game patch actually broke it, but you know, people are working on ways to get it fixed. So yeah, you can still play it. There's still, you know, ways to do it, but I want the version that is easy to access is going away. So you know, I'm upset about that, but I am mostly more upset about the way Crunchyroll has conducted themselves with this and with the other games that they have licensed and subsequently EOS'd. So I will probably never do business with them again unless there is some radical turnaround, which I don't foresee in the immediate future.
All right, yes, sneak peek time. The spring anime season 2023 is already on its way. Has been for 3 weeks? 2 weeks.
Two and a half ish.
Yeah, ish, something. Until this is edited and released to the world, it will be 3 to 4. So, this is how this goes. But still, we love doing our sneak peek because we also get to talk about shows that we probably won't keep on watching. Speaking of which, the first and only nope of this section, because we have our nopes, our maybes, and our keepers, and I have a nope, is My Home Hero.
Oh.
Oof. So, the setup for this is dad meets his slightly estranged daughter in a restaurant for lunch and sees she has bruises all over her face. He follows her home, and by chance he runs into her boyfriend, who is a real piece of shit. And that boyfriend turns out to be the cause of the bruises. So the dad sees red and bashes the boyfriend's head in with a rice cooker. And as if this wasn't already bad enough, turns out the boyfriend is the son of a local Yakuza boss. So yeah, the shit hits the proverbial fan right in the first episode, and I thought when I read the summary, like, the premise of this seems kind of solid. This is good drama material, maybe a bit of Breaking Bad, like you have a kind of seemingly soft-spoken, kind of introverted dad who seems to be more, you know, of the don't want to cause trouble for anyone side, but loves his daughter and everything, and then by happenstance, he just stumbles into this really shitty position out of love situation. But the execution is what made me jump ship immediately after the first episode.
Uh-oh, how bad are we talking?
Oh, John. Like, the animation is already pretty crappy. Like, I should have linked you this before, just so you would believe your eyes. I was believing what I'm seeing. Like, in the OP, you have a visual of a guy, I think he's supposed to be the main character, who just walks down the street, and the walking animation is so weird and janky. Like, what? Did you never see a person walk in your life, animator? What happened here? And this should have been a kind of giveaway. Also, the OP is like it feels like they were just throwing in random visuals to a random song, and it didn't really make sense, and there wasn't any storytelling through line in the OP. But yeah, I was still like, maybe this. But yeah, the overall animation quality of this is kind of super trash. And worse, the writing is not great either at all, and the tone is all over the place. Like when the dad meets his daughter in the restaurant, it's like this really, or it should be this really kind of first, innocent scene, meets his daughter and everything, and they're kind of like not on good terms because she's in her rebellious phase and she wants to get independence from her parents, and she lives on her own in her own apartment and stuff like that in the city. And then you're like, oh, this is just, father-daughter stuff. And then she takes off the glasses and you see the bruises, like, oh, fuck, right? And this is gonna get super serious. And it starts that way, or it seems like that, because her dad is really flustered. He corners her about it. He's like, hey, how did this happen? And she doesn't want to deal with that and leaves. And he's just throwing himself on the ground and crying kind of like a baby. No, come back. Oh, no, come back to me. It's so weird. Like, he's... The way this is... It immediately switches over to weirdly comedic, but intentional, apparently. Like, the show seems like, oh, this is a really good place to throw in a funny joke. Like... This is what this situation demands. This scene, like a funny dad joke. That's what this scene needs. Like, your daughter has apparently been physically abused by someone, has been beaten up, and now we have to throw in a weird, overly attached dad joke. Of course, it's funny. Like, it's funny, but not the way it's supposed to be.
Not intentionally.
Not intentionally at all. Like the scene where the guy. The guy, the dad happens upon her boyfriend in her apartment, who on the phone details everything that he did to her, just so there's no doubt that the dad is in the right to completely lose his shit. Like, you could have made this maybe a bit more, hey, what, did he really do it? Or did something else happen, right? No, but he's like boasting about it. He's like, oh, beat that bitch up. Oh, like... It's ridiculous. Like, nobody would fucking be that stupid to admit the shit on the phone. At least I hope so. But holy shit! And the guy and the dad hid in the cupboard, in the wardrobe. And it's like, and then he calls the guy on the phone and gets him through some incredibly stupid, convoluted shit to come close to the wardrobe so that he can jump out and just punch the guy in the dick. And then grab the rice cooker and smash his head in, which has this overly dramatic music running underneath it, and then like this weird red filter over it, so it's supposed to be super dramatic, but it doesn't work. It's so funny, John. It's so fucking funny.
This sounds like a train wreck.
Yeah, it's an absolute train wreck. Like, the mother is weird when she enters the scene because she's immediately like, oh, that's fine, you killed the guy, but you were just protecting our daughter, right? It's like, wait a second?
Well, about that.
It's so misguided. It's the funniest shit. And in the past, like when we started our show, I would have stuck with this. I was like, I need to know how deep this fucking rabbit hole goes. I need to know how dumb this will get. But I don't have the time anymore for this. And there's so many good shows to watch this season. Like, so many good shows. So I'm not gonna waste my time on this. One episode is enough.
I hate that you said Breaking Bad earlier, and all I could think of it's just some stupid anime scene like Oreo Nao Yite Heisenberg.
Something like this. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that's where they were trying to go with this, but it doesn't work. Like, they tried to create this connection between the girl's dad and the boyfriend's Yakuza dad in a way of the things we do for our children and so on. And, if the production values, direction, and writing shops were there, I'd be interested to see where this goes. But like this, I'm just gonna drop it now. Kind of a shame. Like I said, interesting premise, but this already like screams wasted potential in more ways than one. So it's a total nope for me. And like I said, there are a lot better things to watch. But if you're in the mood for an absolute trash fest of an anime, I think you can give my Home Hero a chance, because this is probably get even more ludicrous after the first episode and become more and more funny for all the wrong reasons. So yeah. That's that. And I think I've won maybe more than John, so I'm gonna just go switch over to the next section. And my first maybe for this season is Magical Destroyers. Yeah,
the opening sequence for that one was kind of making the rounds.
Yeah, it's pretty hot. And the show is very interesting too. First they came for the nerds, and I said nothing. This is kind of where the show starts off. Like, to protect the sanctity of Japanese culture, all otaku media has been outlawed in 2008, and all the otaku got sent to prison. But a small resistance reclaimed Akihabara, led by three magical girls, Anarchy, Blue, and Pink, and the so-called otaku hero. They try to reinstate their way of life and destroy the oppressors. So yeah, this is some really wild shit. Like, you know, it's making fun, of course, of a lot of otaku stuff, like not even just anime stuff, but also train fanboys and I don't know what. It's everything that you can find in Japanese culture that can be attributed to otaku-ness, I guess. Apparently, some of the characters in the show actually have powers, but maybe they don't. I'm not quite sure. Because, you know, they are magical girls, but I don't know if they actually have magical. But I think so, because they kind of transform, I guess. But it's weird. Otaku Hero doesn't have any powers, I think. But everyone believes in him for some reason. It's weird. It's like wild shit. It's a bit of panty and stalking. Maybe a bit of FL of Fooly Cooly. Definitely has Gainax and Trigger vibes, absolutely. Both in terms of visuals and how the comedic scenes are placed and everything, all the gags. And they're pretty snappy and everything. It's super cartoony and well animated. So it's definitely a looker. It's fun. It's fast paced. Not all the jokes in the first episode hit for me. I mean, some of them are good, but not all of them. Some of them felt a bit flat. But the action scenes were good, and it was some weird, wild shit that I didn't hate. So I would definitely give this another 1 or 2 more episodes before I decide what to do. And like you said, the OP is pretty hot. So, yeah. But it's definitely a very special show. And I wonder where it goes. Because for now, I can absolutely not tell what the show is going to do with its next episodes. So, yeah.
I sort of saw this as the antithesis to all of those shows in recent times that have had the underlying, hey, go make babies, you stupid nerds.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I was sort of pushed away from this because I saw being handled by Biebery Animation Studios, and they worked on the Azure Lane anime, and that wasn't great.
Maybe they'll do better with an original thing, though I don't even know if this is an original anime or if it's based on something.
Yeah, that I'm not 100% on, but that's why I was kind of like, I don't want to, I don't know, man.
Yeah, maybe wait until the word if this was actually one of the highlights of the season or not, because as I said, I can't tell yet either. It's like it could go either way, because the first episode had a lot of potential. But if this is the joke, and this is gonna be the joke every episode, then I'm probably gonna drop off too. Like, if they don't do something interesting with its story, and it's just, hey, apocalyptic, like, fighting the algorithm and the machine and the government, but we're also otaku who wanna keep their body pillows. And it's really funny when they, like, you see all the otaku captured, like, in cages, and they're under the sun, and there's like this giant cloud because their smell.
Shut up.
You know, you get it, and and everyone is super happy when Otaku Hero throws some resources their way and his body pillows and stuff like. I get it. It's funny, right? But if that's the same joke every episode, I'm probably gonna lose interest pretty quickly.
It sounds kind of like the vampire dies in no time. That show was predicated on one joke, and I mean, it was all right. And then somehow it got a second season, and I was like, I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, exactly. So this might be it. But also maybe they'll do something with the characters. Like, the magical girls seem to have potential. Like, the relationship between Anarchy and Otaku Hero was pretty decently written, drawn in the first episode. So I did like their dynamic and everything. The magical girl with the name Blue has a lot of potential because she's like this ultra perf. Like, she is so horny. She is the horniest lady out there, and the show goes out of its way to show that. Like, how she got herself captured in the first episode. I don't want to give that away, but yeah.
God.
So it's a mood. But yeah, like I said, I didn't hate what I saw in the first episode, but this could get pretty tried pretty quickly. So we'll see. That's why it's a baby, has a lot of potential, but could also jump the shark pretty quickly. So we'll see. John, what is your first maybe?
Do you like gacha games?
No.
Okay.
You knew the answer to that, John, before you asked, or were you asking the audience?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There's this one gacha game that's been around for a few years now. It doesn't exist in English, called Alice Gear Aegis. Mm-hmm. And I guess the story is predicated on these girls who take up the title of actress, and these actresses don these like powered armor that let them fight these alien invaders called the Vice. And that's basically the long and short of it. From what I've seen in gameplay in the mobile game, it's the gameplay at least is very inspired by Zone of the Enders. Your ranged gun attack and your auto switching to melee when you're up close, which hey, cool, I can get behind that. It's got your prerequisite overloaded cast of cute girls, because sure, why not?
That's gacha game stuff. I mean,
yes. And it was one of those things that I had kind of seen from afar, not really known much about. And then they were like, hey, Alice Gear Aegis expansion. We made an anime out of it. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm curious enough to at least watch a couple episodes. And the first episode, as far as I can tell, introduces this new girl who's trying to get in there and become an actress as well, and it's all training, goofy training montages and whatnot, and she finally does it. She did it. And then the company that all the girls work for abruptly gets shut down, and they have to move shop entirely somewhere else. And it's like, oh, so this is like a corporate commentary too. I see. All right. So I'm sure they will bring in some of the actual fights with the Vice as the story goes on. But the first couple of episodes were definitely like very slice of lifey. We're getting to know the characters, sort of thing. And it's silly, it's cute, it's whatever. I know, as far as I know, they just released like an actual big boy console game as well. So that might be worth looking into to see, if I really get interested in seeing, more of what the world in Alice Gear Aegis is all about. But, for the time being, this will stay curiosity. Maybe I'll keep going watching. I don't know. But, High Dive is out. High Dive and Sentai Filmworks are out there picking up the shows that no one else wants to, and I support that big time. So I'm willing to give it a few more episodes and see what do. So what you got?
Hell's Paradise. So this is about this guy called Gabimaru the Hollow, who is a former ninja of the infamous Iwagakure ninja village. He got fucked over by the village chief and is now imprisoned by a local magistrate. And his body is near invincible, so he is tough to kill. The first episode shows the people who imprisoned him trying to kill him in several different ways and not succeeding, which is horrifying but also funny. And a head executioner sent from Edo says he will be granted a pardon and protection against the village chief if he joins a mission to find the elixir of life on a mysterious hellish island. And he agrees to be able to return to his wife and take her away to a normal, quiet life. And yeah, this is a MAPPA show, so it looks great. And the characters so far look pretty interesting. The visuals are also pretty cool, pretty jam and OP. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It's a very... it's an action show. It's about a ninja who can do ninjutsu shit, but also just kill people very efficiently in very violent and bloody ways. This is a very, 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 very bloody show. There are a lot of decapitations in this show.
Oh.
It's like anime Sleepy Hollow in here. The show's in general one of the more gory and violent shows I've seen in recent years. When Gabimaru goes all out, on, some cannon fodder criminals. He's such a ruthless butcher that even the bloodthirsty shogun is taken aback. So, yeah, this is definitely one of those shows, but it also has a kind of a somewhat witty humor to it, sense of humor to it. So I appreciate that. And some creepy visuals, like the people who return, or the only people who have returned from the island, be it dead or alive, and I think it's only one alive person, have like these flowers growing out of their head, of their body, like of their eyes or their ears or something like that. They look a bit like these clickers from Last of Us, only with flowers, not with fungus. And they seem like to be, the one person that is alive that they show off in the second episode seems to be like in this constant state of bliss or ecstasy. That's why they call it maybe Hell's Paradise, like this beautiful island, and whatever is done to them still apparently gives them joy, but it turns them into like these weird husks that have flowers growing out of them. So it's creepy, but like I said, it looks cool, and the characters seem to be fun. You have like your standard colorful variety of other criminals that will join the mission, like life or death sentence criminals, prison inmates and stuff like that, who have nothing to lose really. And we'll try to get out of this mission alive somehow. And there's like this extra condition. Each of them gets a monitor assigned, one of the executioners from the capital. And our main lady is called Sagari. She's the main executioner, and she's, of course, set to look over Gabimaru. And they already have like this interesting dynamic going on between each other. And she also has a lot of baggage and everything because of her childhood and her history with her family, because they were all executioners and everything. So there's a lot of the show already in the character department has a lot of going for it. Gabimaru is interesting. So yeah, I liked it. I think this show has a lot of potential. It's good looking, and the action is very solid. So yeah. Hopefully this will not be too standard, and we have some good stuff in there and a bit of horror, cool horror bits. I assume a lot of these characters will not see the end of this first season, and probably not the end of the second one, because this is one of the shows where you see a lot of these characters that are introduced in the second episode being killed off during the course of the series. So yeah, it's definitely one of those. They're not death row inmates for nothing. But yeah, fun time so far. Fun, quote unquote. Looking forward to more of that. It's not a keeper yet. Like I said, if it gets more boring, like in the next 2 episodes or something, and it's like, oh, this is just your standard shonen stuff, maybe I will let it go. But so far, it seems to be rather promising. Still a maybe, but close to being a keeper. John, what is your next maybe?
Hey, do you like online games? There's a theme here.
I get it. Sometimes, yes, I do.
Well, I decided to check out Madhouse's new joint, My Love Story with Yamada at level 999.
All right. Okay, I was about to say this sounds either like a light novel adaptation.
It is a manga.
Oh, there. Okay, all right.
Thankfully. Dodged a bullet. So it's about this girl, Akane, who met this guy and got super into this game with him. And then he, like the scum he was, met another girl and dumped her.
Ouch.
Yeah, and now Akane is kind of reconciling how she feels about her ex, but she happens to have an encounter with one of her guildmates in this game, Forest of Savior, at an event named Yamada, and he's very cool, he's very aloof, but he's also like unsociable and curt, and he just wants to play his video games, and he's like this pro gamer on the side who's very focused on, what he wants to do. And I feel like the setup is very apparent from that point, but I feel like there's something a little more to this, like, because from the second episode already, Akane is kind of questioning how she really feels about him and her interactions with the other guild mates and whatnot, and whether or not she's actually over her ex. And, there's, I feel like slightly a little bit more to chew on, especially, from within the main character's head from her viewpoint. So, I kind of like that there's that much to it. In the first episode, they go out and she gets piss drunk, and Yamada carries her back to his apartment, and she kind of pukes all over the place. Oops.
It happens.
Yeah, not her finest hour, but she's also getting through some stuff. So
hey, there are worse places to puke. I'm looking at you, Chainsaw Man. Anyone who's seen that show knows, but yeah.
But yes, I don't know. You know me with this sort of stupid garbage. I want to at least see where it goes. So,
I mean, it doesn't sound offensive or anything.
No,
so.
I don't feel like it's like fully bog standard either. So.
Yeah, it could be something like Recovery of an MMO Junkie that has a really neat romance underneath it.
Because a part of the other setup was one of the guildies was like, hey, let's all go to this offline event and meet up. And she's like, okay, sure. And I think she gets a little surprised because she judges who some of the other players in the game might be from appearance, and
not that, can't take that for granted.
No,
not at all.
So there's that aspect, and there have been other anime that have tackled that as well. But again, I want to see how it plays out, see how it goes. It's not like one of Madhouse's trademark Sakuga fests, but it's a very pretty pastel-y show. So,
I wonder when the Madhouse even put out a Sakuga fest. When was the last time that happened? One Punch Man.
Was it One Punch Man? Yeah. Might have been.
I mean, after that, MAPPA kind of took over their mantle, and makes sense because they're all pretty much ex-Madhouse people. So, yeah. But still, it's nice that they still got work and they do things, and apparently this one is at least a maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's that. Good.
So, what you got?
Last maybe for me is Mashle, Magic and Muscles. So I've shown you the OP of this because of some very specific reasons. Because I was asking myself, why are Renki and Langa from Skate the Infinity in this show?
It's absolutely them.
I think the character designs are almost exactly the same, for fuck's sake.
No, shut up. Don't worry about it.
What? Did the Skate Vampire, aka Skate Grim Reaper, aka Adam, isekai their asses into this show? What is going on here?
Shut up. Don't worry about it.
I don't get it. Cool OP, though. I like it. And the ED is also a very nice jam. So, yeah, like it. So, what is this about, actually? Mash Burn Dead... Yes, is a very simple good boy who lives in the woods with his adopted father. So far, so Dragon Ball. He lives in a world where everyone is able to use magic instead of him. So far, so Black Clover. For that reason, his dad has drilled him to compensate by training every day and thus attaining inhuman levels of physical strength. So far, so One Punch Man. One day, the magic police kicks down their door because Mash got himself found out when taking a trip to the city because he just had to stock up on his beloved cream puffs. And apparently non-magic users are looked down upon in this world with a kinda genocidal eugenics attitude. But Mash, of course, turns out to be such a Saitama that he just kicks their asses in no time, even without magic. He then makes a deal with the police captain to enroll in the magical academy and become the chosen one, so the police guy can get rid of him or something. So the summary makes this sound like more of a diluted standard shonen thing than it actually is, but I liked it a lot. It's very funny with barrages of rapid fire gags and has a lot of charm and heart. Mash is very likable, so is his dad, and the OP is very promising, and it takes a giant piss out of Harry Potter, which I also don't mind at all. Like, it's really going there, and it's really fun. And like I said, the gags are really good. Not all of them hit, but a lot of them do. And the emotional part is also there. Like, we get a flashback scene where Mesh's dad finds him as a baby and connects to him because his dad also felt unwanted in this magic-driven society because he wasn't really adept at magic. And yeah, that scene is really sweet and heartwarming and touching and everything. And you immediately understand their relationship and that there's real love between those, even they're not really blood and everything. And Mash is very good at apologizing, but he's not very good at paying attention. So he has to apologize a lot. He's a good boy, but he's kind of simple in certain parts. And sometimes he just forgets if he has to push the door or to pull it, and then he just yanks it out of its frame.
No.
And then when he tries to put it back in, he just puts it horizontally instead of vertically. It just jams it so many times against the frame until it breaks. Yeah, it's that kind of show. It's really, really stupid, but also really, really funny in parts because it just go into overdrive with these incredibly stupid gags. And then there's all the part where, it's just, hey, here are these magic guys and they throw these giant magic attacks. And then Mesh is just doing a fucking volleyball counterattack. It's just hitting them back in their faces or through the roof or shit like that. Or he's playing soccer with the magic ball that someone just shoot at him. It's great. It's a hoot. It's super fun. But I've only seen one episode so far. So again, with very joke-focused shows, this can become old. But I like what I saw here. I like the other characters we see in the OP and ED. They seem promising as well. Yes, also Renki and Langa, who are in this for some reason. But yeah,
that's just their names now.
Imagine, John, they have not been introduced in the actual show yet. Imagine if they are actually these characters. If for some reason this is made by the same... I don't think this is a Bones show. So maybe not, but also maybe this is based on I think this is based on a manga. I don't know, Skate was an original, I think. So I don't fucking know. They just look so much like these two guys. It's ridiculous. But maybe they're also, a reference to them, and we'll see.
Dude, Mash and Langa have the same voice actor.
Oh, interesting. So
there's that.
Yeah, it fits. Also, it fits his character because he's like very quiet, but also very funny, very obsessed with sweets, apparently. So I can relate. Anyway.
No wonder the ending theme is Cream Puff Funk.
Yes, exactly.
What a name!
It's a very funny show. Anyone who likes their shonen comedy action shows taking a piss out of popular franchises, especially magic related ones, should maybe give this a go because the show definitely is aware what it's doing and isn't pulling its punches so far. So literally, it's a fun time. Don't know if it's a keeper yet because, like I said, I've only seen one episode and this could go either way. But it's definitely, considering how much it's borrowing from other shows, it feels still like a pretty unique thing. I was making a joke in relation to that in the beginning here, but it still feels like, oh, this is something kind of fresh with what it's doing here. So, yeah, I like it. We'll see how I feel about it after a couple more episodes, but I have a good feeling about it. Not a keeper yet, but it might become one pretty quickly. All right, that's it for my maybes or our maybes. John, why don't you start us off with your first keeper?
There's a little bit of a disclosure in that I think pretty much all of our keepers are returning shows.
Yes, I only have one new show in the keepers, and that will come last.
So, Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witcher of Mercury, Part 2.
Yes.
Just started this past Sunday, so we get to jump back into the cockpit with Suletta and Ariel and we already might be moving towards some stuff already with that first episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's already getting fun, like the little psycho girls from the ending of the previous core from the previous season are enrolling into school for some reason, like to kind of shadow Suletta apparently.
Oh, for sure to shadow her.
Spy on her and shit like that. But also Sophie is kind of attached to her, or, admires her for her skills in combat, I guess. And
she keeps calling her One-chan.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. And anime mom. Mom, should I not have murdered the guy? You did the right thing, Suletta. Miorina will come around.
She saw you. Oh.
Also painting it like it wasn't Prospera who pushed Suletta into that direction. Like, whoosh. Wow. I mean, I said what I thought about that when we did our review of the first scene. It was like, this seems to be going a very clear way. But I was still like, maybe but no.
Oh, no.
No.
You were on point.
They removed all doubts in the first episode of this core.
Double down, triple down.
Triple down, absolutely. So yeah, we'll see what other horrible lengths Prospera will go, and what other horrible things she already did in the past, which are still, in shadow. We'll see where this goes. There's some more hints in the new OP, and this could go either way. So I don't, of course there's now some tension between Suletta and Miorina because of what happened in the final episode of the first season, and we'll see.
And also Nika.
We learn a bit more about her. She apparently started all this to become a bridge between Earthians and Spacians. That seems to be kind of her goal, but what she thought she could actually make happen by being a I don't know.
Yeah,
but
not sure it's going according to her plan.
Definitely not that, but we'll see. I wonder what her end game is. But this again, still so many question marks in this show, and I'm really interested to see where it goes. So
big same.
Yeah, I mean that's why it's a keeper for both of us. Like, it's really interesting, and this has this weird mix of, okay, this is fun times at the school, but also holy shit, this can go south so fast.
It's so weird because Gundam is always a keeper until it isn't.
Yeah. But I mean, this is a shorter maybe series, but also maybe we're getting 4 cores instead of only 2 with 24, 26 episodes.
That could be the case.
I have no idea. I haven't read up what their plans are for this. Like, if we're done after this season,
But I mean, G-Reco also got 5 movies, so...
Yeah. We'll see. But it's definitely one of the most interesting Gundam things coming out in a while, and the story has still a lot of potential, and I'm kind of glad that they don't seem to be too obtuse about the relationship between Suletta and her mom anymore. So this is definitely going in a specific way, and I'm interested to how this is actually resolved, because
it's going places.
Yeah, because they can't backpedal now anymore. At least I hope they can't, because now
if they try to, it'll ring so hollow.
Yeah. Oh, my intentions were so good, Suletta. Do you forgive me? Yes, Mom, I still love you. I mean, sure, she does probably, but also if this ends like, well, we'll see. I hope they don't fuck this up, but also I don't feel like Okuchi is the person who does that. Like, I feel like he might be misguided sometimes, but if he goes, he goes. Right. Like, I feel like he's not a person that backs down from his vision, be it for good or ill. So we'll see. We'll see where this goes. It's gonna be interesting.
So, what's up?
What's up? Ranking of Kings Season 2 is up.
Oh, right.
Yes. With actually continuing a show.
What?
I mean, I'm pretty sure they are still on the helm for this, if I'm not mistaken. It definitely looks like they are, because the style hasn't changed at all. And yeah, I think they're actually doing a second season of a big anime thing.
God, that never happens.
Not after Attack on Titan, no. The good boy Prince Boji and his bestest good boy friend Kage are back. First episode already tells to such warm, feel-good story. It's so nice, it's so cozy. It's like it's like wrapping yourself in a warm blanket. Like this show. It's so many likable characters. Like I said, Boji is like immediately want to hug that boy and be like, oh, everything is gonna be alright, and you're gonna be the best king of them all. I believe in you. And same for Kage, who's just like this, has turned around his life and is just supporting his best friend. And then we have their master Despa, who is also like this very funny person, but also like has the biggest heart of them all, and it's great. And Ranking of Kings has always worn its classic fairy tale influences on its sleeves. So the first episode, of course, has a Mother Hulda-esque story featuring Kage. So good stuff. It's great. It looks fantastic because it's like a style of animation and character design we don't really see that much in anime, and I appreciate it a lot. And yeah, I liked the production values of the first show a lot. I thought of the first season a lot. I thought the story, the writing was a bit hit or miss in certain parts, if I remember correctly. It's been a while, but it was like, okay, a lot of this is good. Like the heart of this is good, but getting there sometimes is a bit convoluted. And yeah, so we'll see where this goes. But I'm pretty I mean, it's a keeper. So I will continue watching this. I had a really good time with the first season. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have a good time with the second one. I just want to see these two main characters go on fun adventures together and Boji become the king that he always wanted to become. And yeah, I'm pretty sure this is going to be another good one from Wit here. So yeah. John, what is your next keeper?
I decided that I'd watch the continuation of TONIKAWA Over the Moon for You.
Oh, well, I mean, you weren't really negative on the first season, so I'm not necessarily super surprised here.
I mean, I was mostly because I expect a little better out of 7 arcs because they've done great work in the past, but I just like not the dynamic between Nasa and Tsukasa. They're really cute together, and I want to see, the story between them play out and the shenanigans they get into, and the dumb sideways references to other anime and manga and games that get thrown in there from time to time, because why not? We're just gonna do it. And whether or not Tsukasa is actually a reincarnation of Kaguya, Princess of the Moon, spoilers, probably.
Yeah. It would be weird if they dropped those hints and then not do anything with it, I guess.
Plus, I mean, the name of the show is Over the Moon for You. Mm-hmm. Like, I think I said this when I first talked about it. A friend of mine was like, hey, you should check out this manga because sure, all right. And I checked it out, and I was like, yeah, started reading it. It was fun, and then I just kind of dropped off it, not for any particular reason. But then when I saw they were making an anime of it, I was like, yeah, sure, I'll check it out, because it's the same sort of very dry humor that the author Kenjiro Hata is known for. If you are aware of Hayate the Combat Butler, there you go. Mm-hmm. So, I was sort of going back and forth on this. Then I watched the OVA episodes they had in between, and I was just like, yeah, I want to see more of these characters. yeah, I want to see more of them because I like them a lot. Mm-hmm. So here I am. I
mean, I as a bystander feel better about this for you than about you continuing to watch Rent a Girlfriend.
Oh, well,
this one seems more healthy.
Oh, definitely, as Rent a Girlfriend is so toxic, and it's getting a 3rd season.
Yes, of course it is. Because you watched the second one, John.
I'm part of the problem.
Yes. And now you are stuck with this show.
I hate what I've become.
That's how it works.
I remember getting to the end of the 2nd season of Rent a Girlfriend and them dropping the teaser for the third, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Mm-hmm. You reap what you sow.
TONIKAWA is wholesome. Please watch TONIKAWA or read it. Either way. Mm-hmm. But yes, that's one that's just for me. What have you got next?
Yes, another continuing show, Dr. Stone, A New World. I mean, it's been coming a while. We got an in-between special / OVA before this third season hit. I mean, we had like the big conclusion of the Stone Wars that ended the conflict that was building from the first season between Senku and Tsukasa. So that ended, and now the gang has, with the power of science, Senku and the gang have acquired money as a concept, and also just currency in general, a balloon, and a boastful, greedy captain for their soon-to-be-built ship to take them to the origin of the petrification beam that engulfed the entire world and created a new Stone Age. And yeah, their captain is Ryusui, who is, like I said, he's the greediest person on the planet. And yeah, they also free his butler / cook, so they also get a cook in the first couple of episodes, and some other new advances in science and so on. And you know, it's the usual Dr. Stone stuff. It's this good mix of comedy, educational program about science, right? So yeah, you know, this is maybe, I mean, like I said, I don't know how solid the actual science is behind this. Like, could you actually build functioning things out of these basic materials? Probably, maybe, probably not so fast. It's like a lot of this, either they like gloss over how long this takes, and the characters are really aging here. But
nobody ever ages in anime, though.
Yeah, but still, like it's fun to see it. It's fun to see all the old characters also getting their time. Like in general, it's that and the emotional scenes. Like Dr. Stone has always been surprisingly good with its emotional key moments. Like one of our, you know, long-time characters from the first season, Chrome, gets to fly in a balloon for the first time in his life. Like, see the entire world from above. See that the world is actually not a disc, but, you know, is actually round. Which he believed. Like, when Senku told him that, he believed that. But, you know, now he saw it with his first with his own eyes. And it's just it's such a cool scene where he's so happy that he got to experience this. And I don't know, Dr. Stone is just good at these payoffs. Just really good. Like, you have these characters who have been in the show for a long time and who work a specific way, and then you give them, like, these key emotional moments, and they're so well pulled off with great music and great visuals in that moment. And, you know, you just like all of these characters, and it's great to see them go through this, and it's fun. And yeah, I like the show. I like it a lot. I've watched all the other seasons so far. I'm gonna watch this one because it's just, Dr. Stone is just a really good show. It's like putting the classic shonen concept into a very different frame, and it works incredibly well. Weirdly enough, so yeah, great stuff. If you haven't checked out the first 2 seasons yet, please do so, because this is a very special show, and you talked about game references earlier. The show hasn't forsaken its video game references, thankfully. So in the first episode, or in an episode that's all about food and agriculture, there's a lot of Minecraft imagery, of course.
I saw that. I was losing my mind. I was like, what?
Yes. So this is great. I mean, it did the RPG thing in the first couple of seasons where it's like acquired this and that, right? And party increased, and you always got these like retro video game 8-bit, 16-bit graphics and stuff like that. These menu screens when they made a new invention and shit like that. So it's cool. Also got a nice Albert Einstein reference here in the first couple of seasons. So good stuff. Hey, science is fun, everyone. If you don't believe us, watch Dr. Stone. After that, you will be a believer in science. So yeah, good shit, and definitely one of my keepers. John, what is your next keeper?
It's a keeper for the Sakuga. You know what show it is.
Of course I know.
It's Demon Slayer, the Swordsmith Village arc. So after Tanjiro and all the others almost died for the third time?
I'm glad it's almost for everyone but Zenitsu.
Freaking Zenitsu, God.
I'm like, everyone is, Tanjiro is waking up. I
was hiding on the ceiling the whole time.
Yeah, Inosuke is waking up. Yay, sadly, Zenitsu woke up too. But he left. Thankfully.
I'm so stoked for an arc with the potential of Zenitsu not being at all present.
Yeah,
I'm
apparently not, right?
So stoked.
Yeah, Tanjiro travels to, and his sister travel to the swordsmith village alone to get him a new sword. And Zenitsu and Inosuke seem to be on their own missions right now. So he's encountering some of the other two of the other Hashira, and something is probably up in this village. I've seen so far the first episode, which was very much focused also on the. It was double-length episode, right? Yeah, but still, the first part was very much focused on the demons, on the higher-ups, higher-ranked demons.
Yeah, can we talk for a second about that animation of the Infinite Castle?
Crazy shit. Like, every time a new season of this debuts, I'm knocked on my ass all over again how good this show looks.
UFO Table are just like, yeah, okay, we got this, and they just casually throw scenes like that at us, and it's like, ugh.
I mean, this also got a movie version first, right? Like this.
Yeah, I guess there was like an extended cut of the final episode of the Entertainment District arc with an extended cut of parts of this first episode?
Yeah, that's how it worked. So it wasn't a completely like first. I mean, the Mugen Train movie was the entire first half of the second season. So it's not this apparently this time around, but just, bridge episode, and also, ending this, probably the fight of that, and then also the beginning of this. Okay, got it. But yeah, it's. UFO Table are the kings of merging CG and traditional animation for sure, and it shows in this first episode where it's just like these ridiculous tracking shots through the Infinite Castle, and the sound, my sound system got taken for a ride, and enjoyed that ride, and so did I. And it's just the presentation in this show is bonkers, and it has at least that going for it. So, I mean, I like a lot of the other stuff that's in there too, except for one of those characters. But yeah, maybe this arc will focus on some of the ones I like. I like the girl from the Hashira that they encounter. I wonder, that's the thing. We're pretty sure our main characters will survive, but you never know if the Hashira will actually survive, because this is kind of like a passing of the torch show.
Oh, yeah,
it's like. Yeah, so, I mean, the last guy survived. The Entertainment District arc.
I was glad to see he survived.
Yeah, lost an arm, but otherwise he's kind of cool. And got his 3 wives back. So, yeah, he can retire happily, I guess. And, we'll see. I wonder. We got 2 Hashira. I wonder if both of them will make it in this arc, or both will die, or only one dies. We'll see. I'm not sure, but this is probably where the tension will come in, and we'll see what is actually going, and who we already know who Tanjiro probably has to go up against. Like, we have met the 2 characters that are sent on the mission to intercept him, and the very, very weird upper ranks this time around. Like, we have pretty straightforward battle characters for the past 2. Not really. The one from the Mugen Train arc was kind of more of a Genjutsu, putting under hypnosis stuff kind of character, and did like this transforming thing with the train. But the Entertainment District arc was pretty straightforward in terms of battle, and it looked really good. But these 2 upper ranks seem to be, weird. So we'll see how they actually fight. I'm interested to see where this goes.
There's a couple of them that are very intimidating, and then there's a couple that are like, what do you actually do, my guy?
There's no love lost between the upper ranks, by the way. Like, every one of these creepy fucks seems to wants to kill the others. Especially
it's very
Akaza.
dog eat dog.
Yeah, absolutely. Akaza is like, I hate you all. It's interesting. And we see a flashback to Tanjiro's dad and a mysterious guy who probably is the one Tanjiro got his power from. Might be his real dad. Actually, I have no idea. At least he's wearing the same earrings.
Yeah, it's not entirely apparent yet.
Yeah. Apparent. I get it. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see where this goes. And I'm interested. We also meet the guy from the exam that we haven't seen for a while, who seems to be this really angry dude. And yeah, sadly, Tanjiro wasn't able to bond with him in nakedness. He tried. But yeah, this is interesting. It's an interesting setting with this super hidden secret village of the Swordsmith and everyone, wearing a Pyro mask and stuff like that. So, yeah, looks fantastic, as Demon Slayer always does. And we'll see what it does with its story. At least it's kind of moving at a brisk pace. So, it's probably not going to be boring. Yeah, looking forward to more Demon Slayer, sure.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing, at least seeing how it do, what it go. Because I think this is actually pretty far along in the overarching narrative of the series. So we're kind of close-ish to the end, honestly.
I mean, there are not many upper ranks left. If they dispose of the two in this arc that are hunting them, we have like 3 left and Muzan, right?
Yeah.
So that seems like we might be getting 1 or 2 more seasons after this one.
I'd be willing to bet on 2.
Yeah, I would also say probably 2 after this, and then we're done, which is a neat set of seasons for an anime. Like 5 seasons, that's good. And
it's a nice round number.
Yeah, so let's see. Or maybe they'll wrap up with a big movie at the end here, which I can also see coming.
Yeah, I could see them doing that too.
Yeah, so we'll see. But we'll definitely keep on watching and witnessing.
What's up next?
Next up for me is a very long-awaited return. I don't even know. I'd have to look it up how long. But Ancient Magus got the 2nd season.
Kind of got sprung on us, and he just jumped right back into it.
Yeah, super weird. Because let me see. When did we review the first season? Man, that was still back when I did the title card art, Sean.
The first season was 2017. So
yeah, Jesus, that was one of our first episodes. Yeah, episode 40. Not first episode, but pretty early on, episode 49. It's been a while. 5 years. 5 years.
What is time?
What is time? Exactly. So, Ancient Magus Bride is back. Problem is, it's been 5 to 6 years until the first season. I don't remember barely anything.
I remember bits and pieces.
Yeah, bits and pieces, but everything that happened is like which was pretty story heavy in the first last couple of episodes. Just like, what was that again? And I think I have to revisit the first season to feel comfortable continue to watch this, because otherwise I feel like I'm missing out on a lot of who some of the characters were. I get the basics down. I know, remember most of what Chisa was about, most of what Elias was about. I remember most of what Ruth was about. He's still my avatar on Twitter for some reason. But
I think they had a recap or something in between, so
did they?
That
I must
might
have missed that.
That might serve to be helpful.
I need to look that up, but I also am not averse to actually rewatching the first season, because I remember liking it a whole damn lot. Otherwise, I wouldn't be interested in the second season. So maybe I'll go there. I got a bit of time. So I think to actually get there. So sure, why not? I'm probably just gonna hold off on watching more than the first episodes of this until I have at least revisited the special you just talked about, or the whole first season.
I think there were 2 specials. I think one was actual plot and the other was a recap.
Okay, interesting. Maybe then I need to watch both of those. But yeah, what I can tell you is the OP is gorgeous, and so is the rest of the show. I was worried since Wit is, of course, not doing the second season of this. But Studio Kafka seems more than capable to pick up where Wit left off, which is not surprising since it seems to be comprised of a lot of former Wit people.
Oh, that I didn't know.
Yeah, and was apparently specifically founded for this project. So I think it's in good hands, but since it's the first big-scale production handled by this team, I hope they also don't let their enthusiasm get ahead of themselves and have everything planned out well, because, you know, if a show like this is not properly structured and planned in terms of production, that can bite you in the ass. But yeah, we'll see. So far, this looks good. The animation seems to be on par with what Wit did with the first season. And yeah, Chise is offered to enroll in the Magic College. She accepts because she wants to learn more to overcome the instinct of always sacrificing herself for the good of others. And Elias is coming along as her guard, and naturally Ruth is along for the ride as well, hiding in Chise's shadow. I would be very sad if that wasn't the case.
Ruth is great.
Yeah. And Chise gets assigned to the Lynn Rose dorms by picking the corresponding talking cat. Don't worry about it. And gets a roommate named Lucy, which seems to be a bit annoyed by the whole thing. But yeah, it's we'll see where this goes. This show always, like the first season, had this great atmosphere to it, and the second season immediately pulls you in with that again. And the dynamic between Chise and Elias. How do they pronounce it in the show? Elias or Elias? Elias, right?
I mean, they pronounce it Elias, but, you know, also Japanese pronunciation. Yeah. It could be Elias, for all we know.
Yeah, it's interesting, and the characters I remember I like, and the other ones, like Elias's friend and Chise's friend, who was like introducing them to the college. I don't remember what he actually was about. I was like, who are you again?
He seemed to be all about like big research, and I want to find things out. But he also didn't seem like super. Oh, you have to do this. Like he came across like, I'm going to leave this up to you to make this decision. And, you know, Elias was not 100% trusting of that, and I don't blame him. But he didn't come across as outwardly malicious, as I recall.
No, but him and Elias have a history, and I don't remember that history. That's the thing.
Yeah, true.
I know he got at least one entire episode dedicated to him and their history, but I don't remember that. So that's why I kind of feel like I must revisit the first season, because it's just been so long. It's been too long. It's like, hey, some of the shows we get, like Dr. Stone, like get renewed at a very steady pace. There's like maybe like half a year between them, or a year, and that's fine. But something like this, where it's like has been 5 to 6 years, it's just like I can't. There's
like
too much.
Devil is
anime
a part-timer, where there was almost a decade.
Yes, exactly. It's like, what was going on? I have no idea. So
I had that same issue with my teen rom-com snafu, where there, I think it was like 5 or 6 years between season 2 and the final, and I never went back to rewatch them, and I still haven't watched the final season, and I still want to, though.
Yeah. So you see, this like I feel like considering I think I chose the first season of Ancient Magus Bride as one of my best of the season. So that seems like, hey, that's a good reason to revisit that show, to get ready for the second season, which I wasn't able to do before this started, but I think I will go after finishing the rewatch of another show, which we'll get to. I will probably do that next. The nice thing is I don't really have to take notes for rewatching old seasons, so I'm getting through that quicker than through other shows, because you can just throw it on and enjoy it without thinking too much about it.
Right.
But yeah, refresher seems to be in order, but otherwise this looks as good as the first show, as much as I remember. And yeah, looking forward to more Ancient Magus Bride. Good stuff. All right, John, what is your next keeper?
So pretty much everything I have left is stuff that's ongoing. So kind of be a little bit more brief about it. I know 2 of them you're still watching or planning to continue watching. So, Vinland Saga has been ongoing. And oh boy, is it good. It's starting to pop off.
Yeah, so I've heard. It's like I've stopped after the first 3 episodes or something. I'm going to let it pile up and I'm just going to go through that because the cliffhangers in this show are mean. And usually I'm not a binge guy when it comes to anime, but I feel like Vinland Saga is like, okay, I think this is one where I'll do this, and I feel like the show is so good at putting me into a specific atmosphere that I kind of want to linger in that for longer than 1 episode a day. So yeah, we'll see, but I'm definitely going to keep on watching that for sure.
But yeah, the big broad strokes are that Thorfinn and NieR have, definitely grown together. And, that's cool to see the friendship form between them. We get a little bit of a peek inside of Canut's head, and it's, ooh boy.
Ooh, that sounds...
Oh, boy. And then a character that we have gotten to know over the course of this season, someone from their past shows up and it's hard to say whether they're happy or angry, but they're a little unhinged, and that's gonna be a whole thing on its own. We also get to know the slave master. We get to know his father, the old master they refer to him as, and he's just this cranky old guy. He just wants to do his farming and the youngins these days. But he's also got a heart of gold. He's just a tired old man, and he's definitely a great character too. But that's the broad strokes overview. I don't want to go too deep into stuff because you haven't watched too much of it. But it's great. It's great so far. It's continuing to be great, and I can't wait to see more of it.
As much as I hoped it would be. This is all new stuff for me. I don't know any of this from the manga because I haven't read it that far because I stopped deliberately at one point to be like, no, I want to see the rest as an anime if we ever get one, and we have gotten one. So far, it's great.
You haven't seen it yet, but the second OP is hot.
Love it.
They decided to bring back Survive Said the Prophet. So,
oh, very good. Yes, very good choice.
Yes,
that's a great band. That's a great band.
But yeah. So, what you got?
The only keeper that is a new show for me, an entirely new show, Heavenly Delusion, or I think Tengoku Daimakyo is the right Japanese title, which I think might be the only way to find it on Disney Plus for some reason in some countries. They haven't properly tagged it, and you can't find it with the English title. Can always get worse than Netflix, people.
Yeah.
Apparently. But yeah, that should not be a detractor from the show because it's really interesting. It's a production IG show, and it's about these 2 characters, Kiriko and Maru, who are traveling a post-apocalyptic world. And Kiriko is an odd job girl with a laser pistol that is tasked to protect Maru and deliver him to a certain place. She is also looking for a specific person she wants to meet. And yeah, get some strong Last of Us vibes here. And meanwhile, there seems to be a school in a closed-off area of this world whose pupils don't know about the outside world. And there's this girl called Tokyo who seems to be maybe Maru's sister. Not that sure. There's a lot of mystery thrown around here, and some of that is already revealed in the second episode, but I don't want to talk about that here. So I'm going to talk about that once I actually review the show. But yeah, interesting characters. Maru is a good fighter. Kiriko is very clever and feisty. I like them both a lot. They have a great dynamic with each other. The writing is really good. Like it has this really witty, fast-paced, very endearing dialogue, and it feels very real in some way. Like it feels like, hey, these characters are actually talking to each other, like not like anime characters, but it feels very like, hey, this feels like an actual conversation and everything. Even though this is kind of a supernatural element. There are also monsters in this, and it's pretty fucked up in some parts. And yeah, you got laser guns that are battery powered for some reason. And yeah, it's really cool. It's a gorgeous show. Amazing environmental art, detailed character animation. It's all very pretty. Got a kick-ass OP. Yeah, and it's cool. I don't want to give too much away. There's especially like, I was surprised how mature and open this show is. Like, there are a bunch of things in here that I didn't really expect from an anime. Like being so open about certain things. And we'll talk about it more once I review it. But there are certain aspects to especially one of our main characters where I was like, really, oh, you're just gonna state it like that? You're just gonna be here and just openly, and wow, and the show is actually showing this just out in the okay, wow, all right, okay, this is great. I can't wait to see where this is going actually, and yeah, I'm being willfully ominous and ambiguous about this, but you'll see. I don't want to give any of that away, so check out this show, and I will talk more about this when I review the show, because I'm very, very certain that I will. The first 2 episodes of this blew me away. It's my favorite keeper of this season, and I think for good reasons. That is definitely the hit show for me, because it's just like, wow, the production values are insane. I mean, of course there's Demon Slayer, but still, this is like, wow. Production IG is going all out on this one, and when they do, they just do, and it looks great, and everything about the show just feels like it is so well put together, and then you have 2 apparently amazing characters and a great mystery and everything. So yeah, I'm absolutely looking forward to more. This is the show I'm most eagerly awaiting a new episode for each week. So I recommend it to everyone to check it out. Get into this. Get on this while it's hot and fresh, and be part of the club that gets to experience this, because it seems like it's going to be at least an interesting time. I don't know if it will be a good one yet, because I don't know if the story won't go super dark places later on. It might be. Doesn't seem to be pulling any punches when it feels like it needs to dish them out. So yeah, we'll see. So far, this is very promising, but I'm definitely going to stick with this one. John, do you have any more keepers left?
The last 2 keepers are shows that are still ongoing, or rather, one is returning, one is on hiatus again. The first is Golden Kamuy Season 4, which it's been 5 months since it went on break. Apparently due to the death of one of the staff members, and it's not clear who, but yeah, taking some time for that makes sense. But it's also been 5 months since then, and I feel like I should rewatch the first 6 episodes before episode 7 airs in May, because they restarted the season from the first episode, and then they're just going to roll into the new stuff after that in a few weeks. So, but yeah,
do you know if they like I don't know, touched up the first couple of episodes in the meantime?
I got to imagine they just re-aired them.
Yeah. Okay, that was my question. I wonder, like, it could have been where it's like, hey, what they do sometimes for the Blu-ray, and they had now some additional time. Maybe they went back and were like, oh, some of these scenes we might give a bit more polish. So maybe not. Yeah,
that I'm not certain of. I got to imagine they were just like, yeah, just we paid for the airtime, just rerun them so we can work on the stuff that comes after it.
All right. I mean, they don't have to. Golden Kamuy always work despite its maybe sometimes presentational shortcomings, but
yes,
it's, it would have been interesting if they actually did that. But, all right. But definitely, like you, I will rewatch the first couple of episodes of that season because I have already forgotten some of the stuff. Again, too much anime on the brain.
Yeah. The anime brain for you.
Yeah, that's why our podcast is called that. We're sometimes suffering from it too.
Mm-hmm. The last one is NieR Automata version 1.1a, which I guess there was a break in production due to a COVID scare. They came back for a couple episodes, and now they're on a break again. Because of the same thing, and there's no return date set. So
cursed production.
Yeah.
Weird though. I would have expected that a lot of the studios have at least created the option for continuing production, like with Home Office. At this moment, because they had to during COVID.
I don't know.
Apparently not for this one. Weird.
Yeah. There was delayed after 8th episode, no return date. I'm trying to see if there is a press release that I can run through Google Translate at least. Thank you for your continued support of the TV anime NieR Automata version 1.1a. Due to the spread of the new coronavirus COVID-19 and the accompanying delay in the video production schedule, we have decided to postpone the broadcast and distribution from episode 9 onwards. Regarding the broadcast/distribution schedule after episode 9, we will announce it again on the official anime website and official Twitter in the near future. Although it is a measure based on unforeseen circumstances, we are sorry for the inconvenience and concern for the viewers who are looking forward to the work. Thank you for your understanding. Signed March 19, 2023, the Humanity Conference. I'm glad we're keeping with the theming. But yeah, so who knows when it's going to be back. I wasn't sure I was going to stick with the show to begin with, but they're doing some stuff. And I think and I'm not sure if some people are wondering, hey, John, why did you start playing NieR Replicant all of a sudden? Well...
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. That might have something to do with it.
Interesting. I mean, I'm gonna get to that as well. So I'm glad to know that this will be rewarded later on.
But yeah, I kind of feel like this, as far as I can tell, I can kind of feel like what they're going for with the show is, hey, did you play both games? We got you. This is your payoff. So there was a scene in one episode where they flashed to something that was in Replicant / Gestalt, and I was like, maybe I should actually sit down and play this now. So I'm hoping that will provide context for what was going on with that. You said you had one final thing.
Yes, I have one final thing, which is not a TV series I will keep on watching. It's a movie that I just saw in theaters, so I don't know where to put it. I feel like waiting for the finale of the season seems like not the right choice, so I'm just gonna bring it up. Now, it's the new Makoto Shinkai movie, Suzume, which I just watched in a theater today, a couple of hours ago. Just, because it premiered here yesterday. So, yeah. I mean, both of us have seen some of it. I think I saw Your Name. I think you saw Weathering with You.
Yeah, I gotta check because I have them both on my DVD shelf. Yes, I saw Weathering with You in the theater, and I watched Your Name at home. Movies that I've actually watched. Can you believe it?
Yeah, so this is definitely a Makoto Shinkai movie, judging from what we've seen on his last recent movies, and apparently the stuff he did before that. It's a girl a bit out of place and time, and there's a bit of romance involved, and a bit of mysticism, and there's also a bit of environmentalism message and stuff like that. It's very pretty. And it sounds very good, and I really don't know what else to say about it. I liked it a lot. I had a really good time at the movie theater. I was thoroughly engaged. It was very emotional. It was just, the production values were through the roof. It looked amazing, especially on the big screen. Ridiculous. Like, it was so so well put together, and it's neat. I guess what kind of makes it stand out, especially when I compare to Your Name, which it shares a lot of similarities with. But this felt more like a road movie, because it's about Suzume is about this girl who runs into a guy in her village, town, whatever, and follows him to ancient ruins, and then by accident opens a door that kind of unleashes chaos on her world. And the guy's job, Sota is his name, is actually to close these doors. And because by accident Suzume has pulled out the stone that kind of fixes the protection of these doors and kind of stops whatever is behind them to get out, they try to follow it and try to get it back and to seal the doors again. So that's kind of the through line here, but also there's a lot of subtext going on in terms of character development, because whenever these doors are open, like, disasters happen in the world. Natural disasters. And in one of the natural disasters that happened in the world, Suzuna's mom apparently died, and you're like, okay, where's this going? And you slowly start to understand, this is a response movie to fucking Fukushima. I don't know if Your Name was that also in a bit, though I don't remember. Yeah, that came out after that, right?
Yeah.
After that happened. So maybe to an extent, but this even more blatantly. Like, this is literally, like, this is the final, this is the kind of the final destination of this. This is kind of where the story goes, this road trip goes, and what the story is kind of leading up towards. So it's really interesting to see what the emotional through line is here, and it's all about characters like dealing with loss and with memories of loss, and with coming to terms with things that are not there anymore, that they took for granted and everything, but also, continuing on and trying to get past that and everything. And it's really cool. Like, on the surface level, it's like a fun, neat little road movie trip, making friends, adventure story, and also a bit of romance sprinkled here. And like I said, super pretty visuals. But also, it's very much, hey, this really bad shit happened to us, like, as a country, and this is how we try to move past this, at least in my eyes. My eyes being Makoto Shinkai's eyes in this case. I'm speaking from his perspective, I guess, if I may be so bold. But this feels like what the movie is trying to do, and it does that very successfully. And like the final moment of the movie, or one of the final moments, like the key emotional payoff moment of the movie, is incredibly good. And my eyes were watering up, and it's that he is very good at that. He was good at that in Your Name. I haven't seen Weathering with You, but I assume he's good with that in there as well. Makoto Shinkai kind of does same-ish movies. He has been, that's the joke he has been doing that for a while, that all of his movies kind of go into a same-ish direction.
Yeah.
He pushes certain buttons, but he pushes these buttons very well, and he does so in this movie. Like, it's definitely one of those where it's like, oh yeah, this is one of the big anime movies you should try to catch in movie theaters while it's there, because for the visuals alone, but also the story is really good. It's really well written. It's well paced. It's got a strong beginning, middle part, and end part, and it just got some neat characters in it. And also you see a lot of, hey, isn't Japan fucking beautiful? Yeah. Judging by this movie, it is. And you'll see a lot of different facets of that beautiful country. And it's like fun time, and the main lead is very strong, and her story is really good. So I liked it a lot. I had a fun time. The person I was with, she had a fun time too, and enjoyed it a lot. And it was her first anime movie. She is really not very much a movie person in general, and also hasn't hasn't dipped her toe into anime really. Like, She plays Genshin, so I guess she's acquired with anime on a surface level. But that was kind of like her first big anime thing. And we watched it subbed, so that was also kind of new thing for her. And she managed to follow the story. She was thoroughly engaged, and she thought that the ending message was beautiful and everything, and liked it a lot. So Makoto Shinkai is one of those, hey, you can show his movies to non-anime people and they will probably enjoy the fuck out of it. And yeah, if this seems to be another testament to those, pretty much like most of Studio Ghibli stuff and Hosoda's stuff, like these work for the mainstream people. And Suzume is one of those. And for the hardcore anime nerds like us, it has also a lot to offer. So yeah, I definitely recommend this one. Check it out in movie theaters while you can. And if you have a person that you always wanted to take with you that are not into anime yet and you wanted to show them a really good showcase for this medium, this is definitely one of those, because it's, from the visual standpoint alone, it's probably going to blow their minds. So yeah, definitely go for it. Check it out if you have the chance. I don't know if it has premiered in the US yet. I'm pretty sure. And if you can catch it somewhere, or if you live in Germany like I do, it's probably going to be in movie theaters. Well, maybe not anymore once this episode comes out, because there's usually like a week between recording and editing these episodes and putting them out, because, you know, during the week I mostly don't have time for this. So we'll see. If you can still catch it once you hear this, try to. If not, wait for it until it's on streaming or Blu-ray and check it out then, because yeah, it's definitely worth it. It's this is what I would call the anime version of a like Hollywood blockbuster in terms of production values, in terms of story that is kind of for everyone who is at least a bit attuned to kind of, you know, non-standard, I don't know, movie-going sensibilities in terms of story structure or stuff like that. But it's still so close to that, even though there's some deep Japanese shit in here that rewards you if you are more attuned to these kind of storytelling sensibilities and to, you know, Japan's history and the stuff, the spiritualism and stuff like that. So definitely that, but also it works for people who don't know much about that stuff too. So yeah, absolutely recommend it. Suzume, great stuff, and definitely check it out. And yeah, that's it for our sneak peek, and let's move on over to our first review from winter season 2023.
On the planet No Man's Land, reporters Meryl Streep and Roberto De Niro traverse the desert in search of the infamous outlaw, Vash the Stampede. But the man they find near the desolate town of Geneora Rock is a far cry from the lethal terrorist they expect. In reality, Vash is a passive and carefree drifter. He's a proponent of peace, beloved by the residents of the town. His inaccurate reputation actually stems from the widespread atrocities committed by his own brother, Knives Millions. Still, Vash is dubbed the humanoid Typhoon, due to the tendency for violent chaos to follow him in his wake. Chaos soon arrives in the form of bounty hunters seeking the high price on Vash's head, and their violent pursuit poses great danger to the town and its precious power plant. Thanks to his gunslinging prowess, Vash is able to resist most of these nefarious forces, yet he must soon face off against the ultimate evil, the unstoppable destructive power of his malevolent brother. This, of course, being the summary of Trigun Stampede, a not quite retelling of
remix.
No, I guess retelling would be appropriate. Yeah. Of if you are up on your 90s anime, a show of the same name, Trigun, of course. This is headed up by our friends our friends, our personal friends
I wish.
at Studio Orange, who we've gotten to know for them being really, really, really good at 3D CG stuff. And the presentation in this show, I'm not sure how you feel, is no exception.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned before that Ufotable are the kings of marrying traditional animation and 3D CG, mostly using the CG for environmental stuff. But Orange are the kings of doing entirely 3D CG shows on the Japanese side of things, on the anime side of things, because a lot of anime CG is wonky. And I feel like Orange are the only ones that actually put like really fluid stuff in there and put the focus on the right things in the animation, on the stuff that CG can really do really well. Like they go for like, hey, let's put the focus on the facial animations. Let's make these characters super expressive. Let's do ridiculous tracking shots and giant camera swerves, like have the camera constantly move in action scenes, because that's something we can do really well with CG. And they nailed this in this show again, especially when it comes to the battles, of course. There are like so many moments in this that are ridiculous. Like, this is their best looking show yet. And that is saying a lot, because Beastars was already so great looking in certain parts. But holy shit, I was surprised how movie level this show looked in certain parts, especially like parts of the beginning when we have like this swerve around the spaceships in the beginning, and then also the first fight, I would say. Then the big moment when Knives appears first in this show, like basically explodes on the scene, and then the finale of this season. And the battle choreography, the camera work, everything, the storyboarding, everything is so good for this. Like, you see they're getting better and better at this.
Oh, for sure. Like, I believe it was between the second season of Beastars and this, that they had a short that they put out on their YouTube channel that they, like, you could tell was, you know, every successive thing they've worked on, you can tell has been this, like, a marked improvement, no matter how big or small it is. Like, I remember going from Beastars 1 to 2, like, you could definitely tell that they were like, let's focus on the facial expressions and the animations, because they were even better than they were previously. And this is definitely just like taking all of that and going like 2-3 steps further.
Yeah, especially on the main characters. I mean, some characters get more focused than others, of course. But, you know, there's so many, like, they put so much effort into the expressiveness of their mains. Like, the facial animation, the body language, everything. It's so fluid. There's such a high amount of excess animation on Vash and Meryl alone, but also, you know, every other important character in this show. It's staggering. The incredible facial animations really benefit Vash's expression circus, if you want to call it that, when he just... There's not that much in this version of the show, because we'll get to it when we talk about the story. But there's a reason for that. But what is there looks really good. Like in the first episode, there's one where it's just, you know, he's just going apeshit and has, you know, one of his goofy rampages and everything. And he's just, can someone help me? Because he just doesn't have any, you know, bullets left or stuff like that. And it's just so expressive and so good. And what follows that is also just great action stuff. And yeah, it's a really good looking show. And Orange has just become so good at this. I mean, I already liked them in Land of the Luster Switch. Hey, where's the second season of that, Orange? But they have gotten so much better at this over the years. And it's a shame that they're kind of the only ones who are on this level. I'm glad they exist, but considering how interested anime seems to be to also dabble in this animation technique, I would be hyped if some studios would rise from this. And I mean, the bigger Orange gets and the more high-profile shows it gets, maybe, you know, some people who work on this, and as has happened in anime a lot of times. I mean, we just talked about some of the studios like with Studio Wit and Studio Kafka and with Madhouse and MAPPA. Some of the people currently working at Orange might later form their own studio and then give their expertise to these. And we might get more good 3D CG anime studios out of this. Because I feel like, hey, there might be some other shows that could profit from this. And this doesn't seem to go away. I would like for most of it to go away. But if it has to stay, then I would like to see it in capable hands that are as capable as that or as those of Orange. So, yeah, we'll see. And they can't do everything by themselves, right? They can only focus with that kind of manpower and what it needs to have to look this way. They only can focus on one show at a time, apparently.
Yeah, I mean...
So now now we have to decide between Trigun Stampede and Beastars. And Land of the Lustrous, if you want to count that. But, you haven't watched that. So I think the other one would get the vote here. But that this is going to be... this is going to be harsh. When we get a new season of Trigun Stampede, I'm going to be like, oh man, I want a new season of Beastars. When we get a new season of Beastars, I'm going to be like, oh man, I want a new season. Maybe they can take turns. We'll see.
Possibly. But yeah, anytime the topic of anime up, it's like, man, just let Orange handle it. They know what they're doing. But, also the fact that obviously they can't handle everything. Like, look at a studio like Mappa where everything is on their plate. Like, Mappa is a big studio. They probably have the bandwidth to handle that. Probably. But Orange, they don't. But
not yet.
But
could change.
The work that they do is so plainly apparent. Like, there's other shows with CG that you look at and you're just like, but then you look at something like Beastars, like Trigun Stampede. It's in a whole nother universe, man.
I would really like to see them tackle a comedy-focused show as well. I mean, I'm glad they actually now tackled an actual action show, right? I mean, Land of the Lustrous had some action scenes in there, and they were really good. But, they didn't look nearly as good as this. And I feel like getting a purely comedy-based thing from them would also be interesting in terms of how much focus they put on the facial animations. I mean, Beastars has a lot of comedic scenes. Trigun has some. So this would probably be interesting. And I read something about that there was how much work they put into the algorithm for the facial animations for Trigun, and it was something really ridiculous. So... Yeah, I need to read up on that, and if I find the article again, I will list it in the show description, so you can read up on that. But probably something from Sakuga blog or something. Hey, it's always worth checking out the related links in our episode releases, people, because sometimes there are really interesting articles in there.
And I know I've mentioned it before, but Orange has definitely been noticed because they also had a hand in the Dragon Ball Super movie. So,
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised. Toei seems to have their own department that's getting steadily better at CG in anime, at least when it comes to their movies. All the CG parts in the recent Dragon Ball and One Piece movies look pretty decent. Not on Orange general level, I would say, when it comes to facial expressions and stuff like that. Like Broly, Dragon Ball Super Broly still looked a bit wonky in parts.
Yeah.
But, Superhero looked really good. And the more these studios work together and learn from each other, the better, the more we profit as viewers, I would say. Because, like I said, this isn't going away. And if we must have it, we should get the best quality out of this if possible. And I feel like Orange is one of the studios that's gonna put a flag in the ground and be like, hey, we're gonna take that responsibility because we can. Yeah, they did with this show, but the visuals are not the only good thing. Like, the soundtrack is fantastic as well, which I think was done by Tatsuya Kato, right?
Yes. I remember those first trailers being like, who's doing the music in this show? 'Cause it's really good. And then you see Kato's name come up. It's like, oh, there you go. Perfect.
Yeah, and voice cast is great. I wonder, did anyone from the old show, from the 98 show, return? I didn't look it up.
I don't believe so. But I know in the dub that Johnny Young Bosch came back as Vash, which is pretty cool.
That's good. Yeah, that's cool. That's nice that they did that. But I also...
It's kind of like Orphan, where, I mean, The only person who came back in the original Japanese cast was Shotaro Morikubo, but his original English voice actor from, the older shows reprised his role in the dub for the new series as well. So, cool to see that that's sort of carrying on a bit, depending on what show you're looking at.
In general, the style of this, when compared to the old show, the old one, 98 show, was done by Madhouse. And looks good. I mean, we got other stuff from Yasuhiro Naito since then. I think he did Gungrave, right? I think he also did that. I think he did Blood Blockade Battlefront, and we reviewed 2 seasons of those, which was also great. And yeah, the style from the old Trigun show was still very 90s anime. It wasn't Digipaint stuff yet. It was very much traditional cell animation still, and it looked good for that. But it, of course, wasn't as consistently fluid as the Orange show does. And even Trigun Stampede isn't as fluid all the time. Like, Orange is great at this, but some of the scenes still are a bit limited frames, a bit jaggy here and there, like, reduced frame stuff where they want to marry the usual anime look that you have, like, with a bit more limited frames. And that just doesn't work as well in CG, but they sometimes still do it. It works best when they go hyper fluid, in my opinion. Yeah. When they just really, really pull in the extra frames and stuff like that and just go with the full fluid animation in this. That works best. The other version of this style, where it's like what Into the Spider-Verse is trying to do in Across the Spider-Verse, or is doing, the style thing where it's like, hey, you have these limited frames animation, so it looks like a bit of motion comic, but also not. It's a style choice. For anime CGs, always felt like it was a bit of a also trying to do a style choice, but also maybe not having the budget of doing more. And this doesn't seem to be the case with Orange stuff, but it's still like, hey, they're still making the style choice in certain cases, and it's like, why though? I don't get it. But in that, it is maybe a bit closer to the 98 show. And I'm just going to call the old show 98 and the new one Stampede, just to avoid confusion from now on, I think.
Yeah, there you go.
We can freely talk about it. So yeah, 98 is very much old school anime and looks much different. And in this one, they changed, like, they definitely beautied Vash up in this. Like, they definitely made him more of a bishy character, which he is kind of that in the show in certain scenes, but he's more of a, like, he's in 98 they tried to first bringing him across in the OP in the first couple of scenes in the first episode as like the super badass, and then you get clued in that he's actually a giant goof.
He's just a loser.
Yeah, but also not, right? It's like the show makes you think in the first episode that all the stuff where he like gets out of harrowing situation and does stuff like, this is lucky coincidence, but if you pay attention, you're like, no, he makes this happen, right? For specific reasons. And there's a reason why there's always this big amount of property damage when he's around, but weirdly enough, nobody dies. Why is that? Why isn't he apparently killing anyone? And yeah, so that's of course all part of his character. And this is still in the new version of the show, but I felt like in the old show they were still playing more with him being like this goof for a while before they got super serious. And they don't do that in Stampede. Oh, a bit. In the first episode, we meet him in a compromising position. Very much so. Yeah. Dangling from a rope. Heads down. And, they don't even bother with the badass version of him in the beginning. You see that later in the episode. But in general, when comparing Stampede to 98, I would say Stampede is much more plot-focused. It's a much more serious show.
They kind of just jump right into it, too.
Yes, exactly. Like, and that's one of the things maybe that for people who were big fans of the old show that they might miss. Because the old show was also very much a gag show and very much focused on comedy as well. That is not that much in this new show. Like, Stampede does have some comedic bits here and there, especially in the first and maybe second episode. Some of the stuff with the Nebraska family, maybe. But starting at some point, or even kind of in parts from the beginning, it has a much more serious tone to it. It's much more plot-driven. It's focused on very specific characters and doesn't really bother with that many side characters. That, also shorter runtime, makes sense, but still, it's like very focused on certain things. It changes around some parts. There's some familiar faces, but they might not have exactly the same role that they had in 98. Like I said, some of the villains that appear in 98, the Nebraska family, like the father with his cyborg son, appear here, but cyborg son is much bigger in the old show.
Yeah.
In this version, he is smaller, but, they still pack a punch. But, in the old show, they were only in half an episode. In this one, they're longer, and they have more of a purpose beyond they being one-off villains of the week. And then you have Meryl, who is an insurance agent in the old show, and also has another partner in the old show in the form of Millie, who is like this giant Gatling gun that shoots like these trap thingies. And here it's Roberto. It's like the wise mentor character who's mostly drunk because he's also a cynic. So they mixed up a lot of stuff. Like, a lot of this shit is familiar. Mostly Vash is pretty much, at least in the beginning, the same guy, but also we get to his serious part of the story a lot sooner, even from the get-go. Like you said, they immediately, in the first couple of minutes, reveal the origin of Vash and Knives, which we didn't see in the old show. I don't know exactly when, but it's a while. And because I have, after finishing this, started to rewatch the old show. I'm on episode 5, or 6, and I can't say that much about it, but so far, we haven't heard anything about Knives in this. We haven't seen any of the gun-ho guns in 98, like in episode 6. None. Like, so far we have met Vash and Meryl and Millie, and that's it. And it's mostly been a bit of world building and comedic bits, and them just, trying to actually find Vash, because that's also, like, Meryl doesn't buy into Vash being Vash in the beginning. She doesn't want to believe it because he's comes across, like you said, like such a goofball loser, and he's supposed to be like this menacing force. And so, like, the first couple of episodes, she's desperately trying to find another guy that is Vash, because it can't be that guy. It can't be that person. And in Stampede, I don't know, they kind of pretty much quickly buys into this. Stampede gets much quicker to the point of the actual plot, the story. And I feel 98 lingers, meanders more but not in a negative way.
Yeah.
In the character and comedic bits.
Yeah, I mean, 98 definitely takes its time, whereas in Stampede, we're at, episode 3, my name's Nicholas the Punisher. It's like, okay, we're just right away. Oh, got it. Yeah, Wolfwood, like I said, hasn't been introduced in the 98 show yet, in episode 5 or 6 where I'm at. So I wonder when he went into picture. But I remember, the old show took a lot more time. It was much more meticulous about its world building. Like, hey, we have Vash, I think, going into a plant in the first episode of Stampede. Yeah. They are barely mentioned in episode 5 or 6. Not even, like, getting into one and being revealed what the plants actually are, which are these giant factories, right, in this universe. But there's a special thing that's up with them, and it's also related to Vash's past and everything. And in Stampede, we get introduced to that pretty much from the get-go. Like, we immediately find out where they came from, what happened here, and so on, and where Vash came from and everything. And the old show makes much more of a mystery about that, and it's much more of a fun goof fest with some interesting mystery story bits about its main character thrown in, and what's his background and where he came from. And only in episode 5 you really get introduced to the badass version of him, where it's like when he takes out Govsev, like Govsev, Nebraska. Until then, all his victories and close call, near-death escapes could have been chalked up to pure luck, at least from the point of view of the bystanders, and especially Meryl. We as the viewers, of course, can guess that Vash is actually just mostly pretending, but it's still a better build-up than in Stampede, in my opinion, with a more satisfying payoff, where it's like, oh,
okay, he's actually not just a goof. He is actually doing this deliberately because he's a pacifist, which is kind of his thing. Like, he doesn't want to kill people. And there's a very specific reason for that, why he is the way he is. And 98 takes its time to fill us into this, while Stampede is actually, as the name implies, stampeding to its main plot points. Like, it's going there, and it's in the name, and it makes sense. And I don't hate that in any way possible. Like, this being a much more different thing and a more plot-driven thing makes this like a very interesting, different flavor. Maybe this is for people who, you know, who just want to get right into the main meat of the story. And also maybe for the people who have watched 98 and are like, hey, I kind of already know what these characters are about. So what can you do with them now that still shows me some new facets and interesting things I don't know about them yet? And Stampede actually does this. One of the things is, like I said, give some of the side characters, it fleshes them out more. Like, there's this woman in the town that is the focus of the first 3-4 episodes until Knives appears on the scene, right? And she was one of the characters, I think, in season 5, in episode 5 of 98, and didn't even go by name there. She was just one of the women in that town, and now she's a flashed out character with a son and everything, and with a specific reason to go, you know, in relation to Vash and everything. And he has a history with the people in this town, and it feels much more like he is part of that world, or has been part of that world more for a while, and has made connections with other people than maybe in 98, where in 98 he feels more like a traveling vagabond for very specific reasons. And here it feels like he has formed some attachments, which is interesting. Like, it's a different flavor. It makes Vash a different version of that character, but also a compelling one.
Right.
And different characters, like I said, we don't have Millie, which is a shame, but also she was mainly, except for the ending, I might miss some character beats that I will see again when I'm getting more and more through 98, but I feel like she was mostly like a comedy side character, who, like, the clueless girl, like, side character, which was inherently funny because she's like the super buff girl with the giant Gatling gun, but still like this very, I don't know, this very girlish demeanor and everything. And maybe that mostly comedy focus, I mean, at the end there was serious bits with her for sure, but maybe that mainly comedy-focused approach wouldn't have worked for her here. So they took her out and instead put Roberto in there, who, now that Meryl is actually a reporter, not an insurance agent anymore, is like of her superior and tries to keep her out of trouble because he doesn't want her to get herself killed and everything. But what he actually is there for is being the exposition guy, because what is kind of a problem for this show is there is some background information that we need, that in 98 gets, you know, progressively introduced to us, to side characters that come in each of the shows. And hey, we learn a bit about the plants in this episode, we learn a bit about Vash in this episode, we learn a bit about what you know, this world in general is made of, and what happened in this world before and everything. And the show takes more its time. Stampede doesn't have that much time. Yeah, so we need a character who gives us all the necessary side information, and Roberto is that guy. Yeah. Like, he's the older reporter guy, he knows a lot of about this shit, and he just, you know, he's just a storytelling vehicle more than anything else.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't dislike him, but he was definitely there to help with exposition. But
exactly,
this was also a show that, you know, once it started, it just kept going.
Yeah. You know, he sticks around because he cares for Mara and everything, even though he fronts and is like, it's just annoying. You don't know what you're doing, and you're gonna get yourself killed. But, you know, he's kind of doing a mentor-father figure thing, and it makes sense, and it makes him somewhat the sympathetic archetype of a cynic drunk. So that works for this story. But that is kind of what he is for, and you notice that. And then I feel like Meryl is, while she's still gutsy in this, she's maybe not as strong of a character. Like I said, I will have my final decisions on that, or words on that, when I've gone through 98 again, which I actually wanted to do before this review, but just couldn't manage it. So I will bring this up in best of the season probably, because Stampede definitely will come up there. But she was definitely, she was an actually good shot. Like, she could fend for herself. I don't think she does anything like that in this show because she is just a reporter, quote unquote. They do some stuff with her in the end where she has some conversation with some of the characters on the villain side of things that is more interesting and that gives her a bit more agency. But her part in this is not as integral, I feel like, as it was in the old show, where she was at least hanging around Vash and together with Millie all the time. Still, I didn't hate what they did with her, but it feels like Stampede was even more focused on Vash, on Wolfwood, which makes sense. Like, I don't remember, and again, I will see this once I get more through 98. I don't know how much they developed the relationship between Vash and Nicholas in the old show. But they very much focus on this in Stampede, which makes sense since their dynamic is the most interesting one, since their life philosophies are pretty much diametrically opposed. Nicholas is of the opinion that you have to kill to survive and protect the ones you love, and Vash, on the other hand, has dedicated himself to the idea that killing is never the answer and there's always another way. So, of course, they argue a lot, and that friction is interesting. And Stampede gets a lot of mileage out of that, because it puts these characters in a lot of scenes together. Like you said, Wolfwood is already introduced in episode 3, and his background is immediately given away why he is here, why he is in close vicinity to Vash. 98, if I remember correctly, doesn't give that away until a long way in.
No, not until much later.
Yes. He also appears much later in 98, but then they also take their sweet time until reveal what he is actually about. And Stampede is immediately like, nope, he's here because of that. And that's interesting too. And I like that they really focused on Vash and his relationship, because they, like I said, they have the most interesting viewpoints in this show that clash with each other and have to clash because, like I said, they're on completely opposite ends. And the third one in this trifecta, I guess, that they really fleshed out or that they really made the focus is Knives, which didn't almost have any screen time in 98, if I remember correctly.
Knives is barely in the original. Like, he's alluded to on and off, but I don't think we ever... No, that's not true. I don't think Vash ever actually comes face to face with him until like almost the end of the show.
Yes, we see flashbacks and everything, and he might be in the shadows in some parts, or speaks through Legato Blue Summers, who is barely in Stampede.
Yeah,
had a giant role in 98 because he was Knives' right hand man, and he is here kind of, but he's a bit of a loser in this, which was weird. Like, he was completely different from what he was in 98, where he was like this super menacing presence, and here it's kind of like, yeah, I'm a dick, I'm definitely an asshole, but I'm also, I don't know, I don't do much in this season.
I'm around, I guess.
I'm like in 2 scenes, and I'm just gone from the show, and that's it. I'm like, okay, interesting. But yeah, Knives is definitely featured heavily. From the get-go, Stampede makes it much more about the relationship between Vash and his brother from the beginning. Like, this is one of the big through lines. And in 98, it was much more of a part of the mystery of what is Vash's history, what is his background, and then once we get introduced to Knives, it's like, okay, what is actually up with him, what is the plan, everything, and then is this build up to this final clash in the final episode, which I remember correctly was not that super satisfying. Like I said, revisiting the show now, I'll have some final words on that once we get to the best of the season. But he was just mostly... Maybe he was the plot vehicle in the old show that Roberto is in Stampede. And just a reason for Vash to continue on and get to a certain point. And here he's much more than that. Like, there's a much more intimate depiction of the relationship between the two. Like, from the get-go, you see already how they came to be on No Man's Land, where they came from, who is responsible for all the shit that went down on this world, and why Vash is blamed for everything. And all of that is revealed pretty much right from the get-go. Some pieces are revealed later in the show, and they also extend on that. I think the whole thing with the, what was it, Ship 3 or something like that?
Yeah.
That I think that wasn't in 98, and that was really interesting. That was really cool.
I mean, they do talk briefly, as far as I recall, about Project Seeds in 98, but they don't go into that much detail.
Yeah, but definitely do here. There's whole different aspects to it, and Knives is part of all of that. And he is, when does he appear like as a grown-up full character for the first time? Is it episode 4 or 5?
I think it's 3, yeah. And
already?
Yeah, and he shows up and he's immediately just like this menacing force of nature.
Absolutely. Like, he absolutely kills it, literally. He's just, man, he's so threatening, and he's such a different version of what he was in the old show. It feels like in the old show he was mainly there to taunt Vash, and he still does that here. But here it's just like he's putting his money where his mouth is. Mm-hmm. And it's just a sight to behold. Like, the way they stage his crashing onto the scene that's how you introduce a main villain, a main antagonist. That's how you fucking do it. That's some Sephiroth level shit.
Yeah.
And so is their fight in the final episode. It's just what am I? Am I watching some Final Fantasy VII stuff? What's going on here?
Trigun,
it's ridiculous.
Advent Children.
So it was nice to see Knives getting a lot more screen time in this episode, and making and Stampede actually making an effort to make us understand his character and why he is doing what he's doing and where he's coming from. Which, like I said, I don't even know if 98 had that, but if they did put nearly as much time into that. And here it's really like, it makes him a much more compelling character. It's like, oh yeah, I mean, I get it.
So you're weird considering how much less of a runtime Stampede has. And yet we get more characterization. We see more of the gung-ho guns that weren't in the original.
But we also see a lot less gung-ho guns.
Yeah, or I guess I should say we see stuff that we didn't see in 98.
Yes, which, I mean, should be the route to take for a remix, right? Or a remake thing that did it. Because the old show still exists. You can watch 98. It's on Netflix here. I don't know where it's in the US, but you can just put it on and watch it. And it feels like just doing just the same thing in CG would have felt completely redundant. You know, if you feel like, oh yeah, different presentation. Yeah, all right, okay, that's cool and all. But if you also do some interesting things with the story, that's much better, in my opinion. And they did that here. I feel like Stampede really stands on its own as a part of this thing, especially when you look at the ending, because it goes way beyond what the old show did. It doesn't end it at the conflict between Knives and Vash, apparently. It looks like the ending to Stampede is a giant sequel tease, sequel bait stuff.
Yeah, for sure. They tease that there's a final phase on the way, whatever that means. So we're not done with this.
And that's interesting in itself. I mean, I know that aside from the original manga and the 98 anime, though I don't know how much Naito was actually involved in that, I think it also already took its liberties with the source material. There was also a Trigun Maximum manga, which again remixed the story of the original. But I think Stampede is also not entirely based on that, if at all. So all of these Trigun things are each a bit different. And that is cool, and that is interesting. Not keeping it straightforward, but also finding some new interesting ways to show new aspects of the story, these characters, this franchise.
Yeah, it's cool because it gives all of these adaptations a different value.
Yeah, and I really appreciated that. There's some parts in Stampede where it's like, yeah, I miss that. I miss Millie. I miss the comedic bits. But also, comedy in the old show
was very 1998.
1998 anime. Like, it's a very, very loud show.
Yeah.
And a thing they completely took out of Stampede is Vash being like this womanizer. Pervy Vash is not in Stampede at all, which I'm fine with, because jokes of that kind are funny exactly once at max, and after the first joke, they become a chore.
Yeah.
And there's nothing of that kind in Stampede. But also, we're missing some of the really good, goofy humor when Vash is really like just doing his shit, when he's coming across like the absolute dumb shit. One of the best scenes is him in 98 just walking, listening to his on his headphones, just walking into a hostage situation, and then acting like he's super surprised that there are actually people with guns. And oh my god, help me, help me!
Just what a great visual gag, walking into that saloon and then all of the guns immediately in his face, like, oh.
Yeah. So stuff like that is also kind of, like I said, there's a bit in the first episode, but after the second or third episode, at least the latest when knives appeared, Stampede is mostly completely a serious and plot-driven show. Like, we learn a lot more about the background of Knives and Vash. Also the time, what happened between the Big Fall and the time Meryl meets Vash. That is, I don't think we have seen anything of that in 98. So that was super interesting, but it's all very plot focused. It's all very serious action, drama, sci-fi stuff. And he also, until it got to the serious parts, which from the halfway point, the 98 also is mostly serious, if I remember correctly. I'll see about that. But
I feel like, yeah, mostly.
Mostly, yeah. But before that, it was a different show. It was more comedy focused and everything. And it took its time to get to the serious part, so that you got to know these characters, you got their fun comedic side, and then you got to learn the serious side. And Stampede immediately goes to the serious part. So it's missing some of the sympathetic flavor that 98 had. That's fine too. It is a version of this story. It has its reason to exist. And I like that the pacing is much quicker, like that it gets to the points much quicker. But I also like some of the slow, meticulous word building in 98. But that's what I mean. It's like, hey, each of these shows has its positives and negatives compared with the other one, but that gives each of the shows a reason to exist and also a reason to enjoy while watching, because you see different aspects being put to the forefront here. And you can probably recommend both of these shows to different kinds of people, but still they're getting a Trigun experience. So that's super cool. And I think that's what you would want out of a remake of this, right? I mean, I hope so. I don't know how this was received by the fans, mostly. Like, how did they say all complain that certain things weren't in it, and like, I'm not gonna watching the show, Millie is not here, or this is trash. Vash looks too pretty or whatever, right? I don't know.
I saw a lot of people with that complaint too, and it's like, times change. Of course, the character design is going to change.
And it's not like they don't do any fan service. Like, there's a neat detail in the final episode when it comes to Vash's design, where it's like, oh, here we go.
Right, yeah,
That's a good payoff. That's a good thing. They took 12 episodes to get here, but here you are, old school fans. So this is for you. This is definitely for you. Only for you in here, because anyone else won't know why that is the way it is. But here, you get it. It also rewards the longtime Trigun fans. So I like that a lot. Yeah, we also get characters that weren't in the old show at all, and I don't know where they were mentioned else, like Zazie the Beast.
I thought Zazie the Beast was in the original.
Was she?
I'm pretty sure.
Were the worms part of the 98 show?
I don't think the worms were, but I think Zazie was in there.
Maybe Zazie wasn't the one in 98 that she is in this show, because I don't remember that part, like, about her that is put that the focus is put on in this. I'm really interested to see to rewatch the rest of 98, because I didn't remember her at all. It's like, wait, she must be a new character, right? And if you say maybe she isn't, maybe she wasn't the same character in the old show. So I'm really interested to see where that goes. But yeah, she's interesting. They have a bunch of other characters that maybe weren't put in the forefront. Like I said, it's super weird the way Legato is put into this.
Yeah.
But maybe he will play a part in the second season because, now that power dynamics have shifted by the end of the season and everything, who knows? Who knows? So maybe we'll play a more important role. Zealots have a tendency to stick around longer than you want them to. So we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, and hey, the usual Naito stuff is still in here. He's an absolute fan of American superhero comics. We've seen this in Blood Blockade Battlefront that has kind of a version of Venom in it in a way, or at least an homage to him. Nicholas the Punisher. Mm-hmm. Knives going full X-23 at one point. So it's all in here. So it's not like the show is denying what author it stemmed from. So yeah, I feel like there's a lot of love put in the show. I think Orange were absolutely familiar with this. I don't know how heavily Naito was involved with the production of this version of Trigun, but it feels like it's paying enough homage to what came before it, and it paid attention to a lot of what these characters were about and fleshed out a lot of the characters that we got in the old show. Just put the focus on a couple of few ones instead of having like this wider focus that 98 had. So like we got to focus on Wolfwood, we got to focus on Vesh, and we got to focus on Knives mainly. And I especially like that they focused on Knives and Vesh more than they did in the old show, which felt like something that was lacking there. So yeah, I thought that was great, and I'm really interested to see where it goes from here on out, because I mean it was already a lot of new shit. But I feel like after this season, if we get another one, there will be only new stuff that we haven't seen before. That is maybe from the Trigun Maximum manga, maybe from somewhere else, maybe it's entirely new stuff. Who knows? But yeah, I enjoyed this season a lot. I don't know about you, John.
That was great. Seeing the plot play out, in a slightly different way, but for it to be familiar enough to be like, I know that thing, to have that sort of emotional going on while still, getting, a little bit of surprise here and there. I really did enjoy it. It definitely went very fast. It was a very brisk pace.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't feel like that really detracted from it.
No, not really. When compared to the old show, right? When you watch it as a standalone thing, you won't notice it at all. It's just because it's focusing on different things. It's a different way to tell the story. It has a very different tone, or at least it gets to the tone that 98 gets to after half its runtime immediately. So you don't have the comedic parts first. That's why it's a different tone, and it's immediately the entire series feels like it's a different tone. It's just a more serious drama than the old show was, because you remember all the comedic bits from the old show that this one doesn't have. So yeah, but overall, if you watch this on its own without knowing the old show, I don't think you will find much to complain about. Maybe, some of the side characters getting the short stick here and not much screen time, or not much to do actively, like Meryl maybe, right? And Roberto. I mean, they're doing some things, but it's not like they're having the most integral part into what's happening. But the stuff that Stampede is focusing on is done really well. So, like I said, if you don't have 98 to compare to it, you won't even be missing some of the stuff that was in the old show. If you've watched 98, you probably will miss some stuff, but also you will get new and other stuff for it that the old show didn't have. So, like I said, they both exist, and they can both exist in parallel, and each have their own merits and their own shortcomings if you want to compare and put them next to each other. But that both gives them a reason to still exist. And Stampede is not replacing the old show, but the old show is also not the superior version when compared to Stampede.
Yeah, neither invalidates the other.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it should be. That's exactly how it should be. Like, if you do something interesting with it, and I hope that's what they do with Final Fantasy VII Remake, right? It seems so far, the first version of that very much feels like that. It's like, hey, the story is going in such a different direction parts. Like, some parts maybe invalidate the old version, maybe, but also other parts don't, because you're still missing some parts that are not in this new game. And also, it's maybe be more of a sequel than actual thing. And I don't think Stampede is going that route with the old show. I mean, after this season, maybe, right? But it's still like it's a retelling, it's a remix, it's a remake, it's a different way to tackle this story, and it's leaving out some parts and putting in others. So it definitely stands on its own, and that's how it should be. Because what's the interest in telling the exact same story again?
Right.
There's no point. So as long as you tell a good story, even if it's a different one with the same characters, as long as it's a good story, there is enough reason for it to exist. And I feel that's the case for Stampede. And you get some funny side bits that you didn't have, or I don't remember in the old show. Like, there's the scene with Nicholas being really bad at riding one of the giant ostrich thingies, which is funny, and it's a blink and you miss it detail. I don't even know if something like that is in the old show. And hey, you get a flashback to Nicholas' childhood, which I think was in the old show. But the cool thing about this version is, it's a bit restructured, and also it's traditionally animated in a otherwise completely CG show.
That's right, it is.
Which gives it immediately this very different flavor, which is also a different thing they can now do when they have a 3D CG show. Once you put traditional animation someplace in a 3D CG show, it immediately takes on a whole different feeling and creates a whole different atmosphere. And this is what this flashback scene does, because suddenly there is a completely different animation style in this compared to the rest of the show, and it's super cool. It's a great choice because it gives the sequence its own identity in the story and makes it stand out more. And that's also a thing only Stampede can do for this character. So there you go. That's another thing that this version of the story can give you that the old one didn't have. So yeah, I feel like even if you are a diehard 98 Trigun fan, there's enough here to like for longtime fans, and for newcomers, again, maybe this gives you a reason to also check out the old show, and that would be great. So I feel like this is not only a nice complementary piece to the old show, but a Trigun thing that stands on its own and rewards its viewers and has a cool story to tell with these characters that we've known for quite a while. And I'm very interested to see where it goes from here, and I'm very interested to finish up 98, my rerun through that, and compare more of what the old show did to what Stampede did, what I liked better, what I liked not as much, what I think 98 did better, what I think Stampede did better. And there's also a thing that can be rewarding, like comparing these different approaches to certain parts of the story in both those shows more thoroughly. So yeah, I am super happy that we got this. I'm super happy that Orange got to do this, that we got a completely different thing out of a really cool universe that Yasuhiro Naito created. And yeah, let's get more of this, John, I would say. Hopefully with not as much of long of a waiting time. Do you have any idea? Have they announced anything?
As far as I know, I don't believe so. They just have been like, there's more coming. And it's like, oh, when? Tell me when. Tell me when.
I mean, they might continue with Beastars first and then return to Trigun Stampede. Like I said, we'll see. As far
as I knew, Beastars was supposed to be coming back in 2024. And I think the whatever is left for Trigun is supposed to be this year. So...
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't know how successful the show was in Japan, because I feel like Trigun is one of those franchises that never was as successful in Japan as it was in the US. But I might be mistaken, might be misremembering that. I mean, it must be successful enough for it to get another adaptation. I don't believe they did that purely for the American market. But hey, we'll see. John, where can people watch it?
It's on Crunchyroll. It's on Hulu. It's on, depending on where you live, it's on Amazon Prime and, a few other places as well. So it is accessible to watch for sure.
And we'll see what else we're going to get out of this. But I'm looking forward to more. Absolutely. And yeah, good times to be an anime fan. Good times to be a Trigun fan. So... let's see when Vash stampedes over our expectations once more. And that is a wrap on the 142nd episode of Anime Brain Freeze. All the music in this podcast is from the Double Dragon Neon soundtrack by the amazing Jake Kaufman. Please go to virt.bandcamp.com and check out his awesome work. Our show is available on most of the popular podcast services, but it's always worth visiting animebrainfreeze.com for our review index and more. Leave us comments and questions on YouTube, follow us on Twitter at AnyBrainFreeze, or send an email to animebrainfreeze@gmail.com. We would love to read your feedback. Thanks for tuning in, we hope you had a good time, and please join us again on our next episode. Macht's gut.
Take care, everybody. Next time on Anime Brain Freeze.
The other deadliest game, soccer!
And revenge can't be bought so cheaply.